Hello, everybody. We are so glad to have you with us. This is Writers Chat, and my name is Johnny Alexander. I'm here with my very special co-hosts, Brandy Bro, Melissa Stroh, and I am now going to turn it over to Brandy, who will be introducing our special guest for today.
It is my special pleasure to introduce our guests today, Kim Sponaugle and Pam Halter. I love these people. They're really dear to my heart, really are. Pam and Kim published 2 picture books in their Adventures of Beatrice with Concordia in 2001. They branched out into indie publishing with Willoughby and Friends in 2017, great book series if you aren't familiar with it. There are 3 Willoughby books as well as a coloring activity book. They've won Purple Dragonfly Awards, a Realm Award, and others. While they often work separately, their first love is working together, and you guys will totally see that when they present today. There is something magical that happens when their creative minds get together, and it's not just drinking coffee and eating brownies. They love teaching the craft, especially as a team, and mentoring beginning children's book authors. It is my great pleasure to welcome Pam and Kim. Thank you so much for coming today. I'm so excited you're here. We all are.
Yay, ready to be here. I forgot Willoughby. Kim's going to go get Willoughby. We each have a Willoughby because, you know, he likes to get in on things.
Well, that's only appropriate.
This is Willoughby. A friend knitted him for us, and he's adorable.
Cute.
We love him. I need it because he falls over. That's a good idea. Okay, so I'm going to start out. Brandy gave you a short, little Willoughby intro. I want to just briefly tell you how we met, because people ask us that a lot. And I had started writing children's books after I had a late-term miscarriage, and someone encouraged me to write as a way to deal with grief. And so, I wrote poems for the baby and stuff and everything. And I remembered I love writing. In high school, I wanted to be a mom and a writer, and totally I forgot. I was a mom, forgot about it. So I wrote my first picture book, children's book, Beatrice Loses Her Doll, and didn't know what to do with it. Sent it to people like to help you, like, here's a publishing house you can send it to. Vantage Press. Has anybody ever heard of Vantage Press? They're evil, like in their very souls. And I sent it. They were like, this is great. They accepted it. They were going to give me black and white illustrations. I only had to send them $6,450. This was in 1994. And I sat down on the kitchen floor and cried because, Daryl was just starting to teach school. I mean, we're a single income family on a fixed income because he's on salary, and we have special needs child. So I wrote back to them and said, I'm sorry, there is no way. Please send my stuff back. And they did. And I put it in a drawer. And ended up self-publishing a small book of like youth group skits. I think I did that beforehand. That was a self-published thing. We were in a new church, and I was telling Sue on the missions committee about it. Well, a week or so later, I get a phone call, and a woman's voice says, you don't know who I am. My name is Kim Sponaugle, and I got your name and phone number from Sue at church. And she says, you write for children. And I'm like, I'm trying to. She says, well, I'm an artist, and I would love to be able to illustrate Christian picture books or just good picture books. And can we get together, exchange our work, see if we think we can work together? And I'm like, okay. So we did that. That was May of 95. We were like, good. We each liked each other's stuff. And she was finishing up having daycare in her home. So we didn't actually start working until September of 95. And we worked and worked and worked, and I wrote all these stories, and Kim did a full color dummy book that, this is because these are the days of, you don't email, you send stuff, regular mail with your self-addressed stamped envelope in case they don't want it, they can mail it back. And, but we didn't know how to do that. And one day in the mail, I got a postcard for the Sandy Cove Christian Writers Conference. And I said, I don't know what that is. And I called the number. Gail Roper was the director that year. And I said, what is a writers conference? And she laughed. And so she explained, and they had a thing for beginners. Kimmy and I went with our matching t-shirts because my son was in print shop and he made us t-shirts with Beatrice and her. Let me see. Let me share the screen so you can see. Why is this not giving me everything that's open? All right.
Show all windows.
Oh, thank you.
You
You actually have to read what it says.
Oh, there we are. I haven't seen that picture.
I know, there we are, but where's Beatrice? Huh, okay. I'll get to that. Where's the books? See how organized we are? No, that's not Beatrice. Oh, they're mine.
Sorry.
Clearly we need more coffee. And so we took this with us, full color dummy, and met Christine Tangvald there, who adored us and the story because, you know, we adored her. And she gave us a letter to send with, and we sent to 3 publishing houses. We got 2 rejections, and the 3rd one picked us up. And we did the hallelujah dance in the kitchen. And so thinking, and that was 98 that they got accepted, because we went 97 to the and we just did day trips because we had preschool kids, you know. Kim's husband watched Mary and Josh, and anyway, so they picked us up. Our books came out in 2001, right before 9/11, but they did really great. And we were like, 2 books a year. They were going to put 2 books a year out of the girls. They were looking at the little boys series, and we were like, this is cool. We're set. Back up a little bit. When I went to the writers conference, I found out exactly how much I did not know about writing and for publication. So, but you know, we're told that you don't ever publish the first story you ever wrote. And I did. You don't get picked up as an author illustrator team because they want you to either illustrate yourself or like have like a mother-daughter, husband-wife type of thing. That don't happen. Friends don't happen. They don't take them here. And there we were. And so we thought, well, this is cool. God's blessing it. And we are on our way. And then a new editor came. Our editor left for another job, and our new editor came and sent everybody's stuff. Everybody's stuff. So we've been actually trying to get published together traditionally ever since. And of course, no. We love it, but no. And that's when we branched out. We said, you know, we know enough. At 20 years in the industry, we know enough. Let's do Willoughby ourselves. And we did. And we had a great time with it and had fun. And book sales are meh. There's so much out there, you know. But anyway, so working with Kim is, y'all need to, if at all possible, be able to connect with an artist somehow, or she has changed the way I write, because writing a story is one thing. You know, you write the story, you get your little pictures in your head, and you know what's going on. But when you work tight with an illustrator, like Kim and I live 25 minutes from each other, 20 minutes if, you know, which is a couple towns over now. And so we get to meet a lot and talk a lot. And so she'll read the story and she'll give me suggestions to make it more active and for her, like, and to learn how to write that way, but also learn, you don't have to put everything in your story, because the illustrations often tell what's not told in the words, in the text. Long before Willoughby, when Kim and I had been working together several years, I wrote a story, Lamb of God, story of my heart. We've been close twice to get it published. Once with Zondervan, once with Christian Focus Publications. And both times it was the marketing people that go, we don't know where to put this. And I'm like, it's a family devotional. You don't know where to put it on the bookshelf. But that was their choice, right? So, but here's one thing that happens when I'm writing in such a way as to pique her imagination. I wrote the story and I said, here's a chapter with the uncle in it, Uncle Abram. And she said, okay. And she read it. And then I don't know how many days later, I was like, can you come over? I have a sketch of Uncle Abram. And I said, sure. And she showed me this. And I cried. and said, how did you know what was in my head? Because I had never described him to her. This is the character that was in my head when I was writing. And she said, because of how you write, it creates pictures in my head. And I'm like, wow, that was like, it was like so cool.
Pam, put that back up there. Let us see it for a little bit longer. That is,
oh, sure.
That is fabulous. I love that.
Yeah, it's Uncle Abram. He's the uncle. He's a storyteller. Isn't he fun? Love him so much.
Yeah, absolutely. And, I love the colors too.
Yeah, we're actually talking, and it's a long book. It's started out as a story, broken down. I've broken it down into chapters now, 12 chapters, and it would be like a 12 countdown to Easter is what we decided. So there's chapters, there's discussion questions, scripture, that type of thing in each chapter, and it ends up, you know, on Easter Sunday where you know, with the last chapter of the resurrection. And so
but when you said sketch, I was expecting, you know, black and white pencil drawing.
You know what? I think that's the color one. Let me see. I think did I bring up the black and white one? Because I do have a sketch somewhere. No, I don't think I did. But yeah, she did bring, you know, a black line art sketch and all. But you know, that's just.
Oh wow, it's beautiful.
Yeah. So, and even though like we're both creative, have creative thoughts and minds, and we help each other, sharpen each other up, we're still very, very different. I am the people extrovert, plan a dinner. Let's have a small dinner. Okay, got a list of 50 people coming over, and I'm like, yeah. You know, COVID just about killed me because I'm like, I need my people. You know,
and you can see I'm like in the background, and that's where I want to be.
I said, Kimmy, she's like, you're good for me because like you pull me out of myself and you make me you make me go places. So all right, why is it not? Oh. Yeah,
You go.
Kim's like, yeah,
Get me out of this picture.
That's cute.
And it's like, but we have a very cool balance, you know, and so that makes a difference, you know, in what we do and how we teach together, because we started teaching together, you know, because really it doesn't matter what you write. It can be for children, it can be adult novels, that you still be able to, you have to write in such a way that you want your reader to picture the same thing you do, like for the most part. It's not going to happen exactly, but we have pictures, like when I'm writing, it's like a movie going on in my head, the whole thing, action, color, you know, everything's going on. How do you get that on the page, and how do you make your reader see the same thing? Well, Kim has taught me that because of the way, you know, that I write. That's different now. Let's see. So we started out with our first Willoughby. Why is this not letting me do that way? And we're very, very proud of him because he's won Purple Dragonfly, and he won a Realm Award the first time they did a children's thing. He beat out a graphic novel and a middle grade novel.
Wow.
Figure, right?
Wow.
But we had such fun with him, and I've been told that parents have to hide him because they're sick of reading them. Yes. So that we did that, and the second year we did Lumpy Bumpy Cake, and Kim got first place for illustrations. And we got a regular Purple Dragonfly for the story, but because it was first placing, then that was a big deal. So we got first place stickers and got to be on their blog and stuff like that. It's Story Monsters Inc. magazine, and that goes out to a lot of schools, libraries, librarians get it and all like that. Thought that maybe that would help our book sales, but for some reason it has not. That's why I'm looking forward to the Serious Writer thing in the fall about the mentoring or the marketing thing. And then we did Willoughby Goes a Wee Bit Batty. He won a Purple Dragonfly, and he was a Realm Makers finalist. He was up against N.D. Wilson, and if y'all know N.D. Wilson, amazing. And I love his book that was Goodnight Ninja. It was adorable and so much fun and cool. And so Willoughby was very, very happy to have make a ninja as a friend. So, but here's what working with Kim and artists, and I don't know how other illustrators work. So just, I'm coming at you from working with Kimmy, that I have also learned not only my wording is different, my phrasing is different, things are more active and more picture creating for her, but that I have also learned to trust her. That because I don't draw, that's not what I have as a gift. I paint with words, I sew quilts, I paint with fabric, but Kim does it with pencils and brushes and computer things and all the stuff that she uses. And she has good ideas. And so I've learned to trust her with those ideas. So for when we were doing Lumpy Bumpy Cake, no, Itchy Itch was the first one. She always asks, what would, do you have any ideas? The only thing I wanted was Willoughby scratching his back on the tree. I wanted that. That's what I wanted. And even with Beatrice, we did the same thing, even though we were working with Concordia. And oh, hi, Jaylee. And then for Lumpy Bumpy Cake, I wanted vignettes of stuff. And my favorite, and I didn't even tell her to do this, but this is my favorite, where Willoughby's waiting. It's hard to wait, and like little things like little smoke coming out of his nostrils and look at his eyes. And he's like, I love him that way. And then when we got to Willoughby Goes a Wee Bit Batty, that was where we introduced our first special needs character. And Kim said, do you have anything that you want? I said, nope, girl, do your thing. And she came up with, because bats are nocturnal, the illustrations were dark because you're either at dusk or at night. And Kim said, what can I do to lighten up these pages besides the moon and the stars, which are really not always that bright? And one of the things she came up with, where did it go? Where's Mumsy? I opened her. I'm telling you, Zoom plays with me sometimes.
Pam, while you're looking for that, how many books are you putting out a year of the Willoughby books?
Right now we have 3 out. We did 3 in a row, and our last one was last summer. We put out a coloring book.
Okay.
Did I not open?
Do you have more planned for that series then?
Well, I have more written.
Oh,
but because of sales,
yeah,
we're not sure. We would like to. Or no, you know what? I did it on the desktop.
They're so colorful and engaging. The illustrations are just gorgeous.
And a lot of, and that's important for picture books.
Yeah.
You have to have good illustrations. I just saw her. Where'd she go? Jeez. Minimize.
Kim, can you talk, while she's looking, can you talk a little bit about?
I got it.
Okay. But then I want to talk to her.
Because I'm gonna turn it over to Kim.
Okay.
Yeah. But Kim came up with bioluminescent mushrooms.
Oh, wow. Nice.
They're here and here. And look, Mumsy has a staff with fireflies in. I would never have thought of that. And if I wanted my own way and draw it this way and do it that way and not let the artist use her gift, this wouldn't have happened. And it's marvelous. And so, but because of that, when she came up with that, I said, oh, we're going to put a thing in the back of the book. And so we have a little thing about bioluminescent plants and animals and creatures and all for the kids. So that's a lot of fun there. So that's what working with an artist has done for me. So I'm going to turn it over to Kim, and she's going
Okay.
to talk to you about working with an illustrator, because most of us will not have what Kim and I have, you know, so.
Hi, everybody.
Hi.
I am the quieter version here. And I really do have a hard time sometimes speaking with people, and, you know, because I am an isolated type person and I do a lot of work in a cave, and, you know, I come out and my friend brings me out into the light once in a while here. But I do want to share a couple things about finding an illustrator and things that can maybe help you when you're in a search for an illustrator, if you're considering it, because it's a wonderful journey to take with somebody. When you can work together on a much loved project and be able to help one another, feed one another, you know, creative juices, getting them going and come up with ideas and to strengthen a project. And a lot of times I think when authors start out looking for an artist, they're thinking they're going to hire them as like a hired gun to illustrate for them. And they don't always think about the collaboration part, which is part I want to really encourage, because like now when we have Zoom and we have a lot of texting and other things, we have a lot more tools to communicate with each other and to get to know each other better. And I think that that's the part that is really missing with the legacy and traditional houses. When you submit your book to a publishing company and you trust them to take it, they take it, and then they line up the illustrators and they line up the editors and all the people that are going to be involved, and you really kind of hand it off and you don't know what you're going to get pretty much until it's completed, published, and in your hands, sent back to you. So in this aspect with self-publishing, it can be a wonderful journey all the way through. You can develop relationships with authors and editors and make a team. You can collaborate together. You can meet somewhere online in a Figma room or something like that and bring ideas together and try things out and discuss. And it is actually a much more rich experience than handing a book off. Now, I understand the draw for that, you know, that we want to be traditionally published. People want to be recognized. You know, it's a wonderful thing to get published traditionally and to be published with a legacy publisher. But things are moving in a little bit different direction. As far as me seeing this, I do about at least 10 books a year. And I've been in the trenches for years doing this. So I see the kind of the migration away from a lot of that into where people can actually make something wonderful together on their own without houses. Or working with houses, but smaller houses or indie houses or legacy or hybrid houses, presses, you know. So, and then you've got your self-publishing programs, which you can do, you know. And there's so many wonderful designers that you can hire to take your book, which if you work with an illustrator and you get the files created, everything's edited, everything's good, they can take that and drop it in for you into the publishing program you want. And it will be stress-free. These are really experienced people and they know how to do it, and they know how to set it up so that you will get recognized on Amazon and Barnes and Noble and all the different places you want your titles to be seen. So it's really a wonderful time to start thinking this way. And I'm very excited about it. And I'm excited about all the people I get to work with now and talk to. And I know I worked for David C. Cook Publishing for a while back when I just got out of art school. And I hired a lot of illustrators for curriculum. I didn't get to talk to them very much, but I would talk to them on the phone. It was back before we were really doing computer email and all that. So it was all pretty much by the phone. And I saw the separation between the creative people and the editors and the designers. And I saw the separation, and it kind of drove me into illustration. That's what I really wanted to do. I was designing and I really wanted to become an illustrator. So I switched, and it was a little scary, but it was a good choice. I think the Lord led me into that way.
About a year with David C. Cook.
Yeah. And I really enjoyed the job while I was there, but I also saw the need for the community, which we really didn't have that back then, you know. So now we can have that, and we can create some wonderful, amazing projects. And that's exciting that we can do
What you look for in the story?
I look for stories that have life, that are imaginative, that are well written, that have great dialogue, that the settings are exciting and interesting. I look for realness in in the dialogue, genuineness, things that are going to move my heart, move children's hearts. That's what I look for. And great writing makes me want to create great art. So that's why I want to encourage my author friends and my word people is that please, know that feeds illustration, great illustration. And it's thrilling to be able to work with authors now too. Like I said, there was a separation. The publisher would give you the project, but you would never meet the author.
Yeah.
You would never get to hear their voice, what's important to them and about the book, the story, see their face, their expressions. Now, when I talk with clients, I meet them on Marquee, it's kind of a video chat, and I get to see what's important to them. Why is this story so important? I get to feel what's important to them, and then that helps me when I create the illustrations for them. Mm-hmm. And that's a wonderful part of the self-publishing journey that we're all kind of heading into, some of us anyway, is that we are able to do that. We're able to hear from one another and know what's important to each other, and which we didn't have back then. So, you're kind of trusting it to an editor and a design, and an art director to interpret the story. Mm-hmm. And now I really do trust authors. Some authors may not know what they want, but a lot of them do. Mm-hmm. And they can go on directories. You can go on an illustration directory and look at all of the different styles. And you can kind of get a sense after a while, if you look at a lot of them, what's really important to you, what really resonates with your story. And then you can kind of even dialogue with some of these people, because some of them actually will work with self-publishing authors. Some of them still are reluctant to do it, but there's many that are now having to break into that because there's just not enough work. With legacy, they're not putting enough titles out. So these wonderful illustrators are coming into self-publishing, and that's exciting. Yeah.
The fun thing for Kim, anyway, I've noticed that since we've been working together, is she can now recognize if a story really needs editing.
No training. But I've been with you long enough.
And she'll be like, I have this client, I'm going to send them your way. I really think their story needs work. I don't know what it needs, but it needs something, she'll say. So that's kind of neat. But then she can recognize really good stuff too. And she's able to just work with them that way. So one of the fun things we broke out into last year was coloring books. Mm. The dollar store kind of like ruined things, for most of us, right? Because you can get, but we thought, well, we weren't quite ready to put another book out, but let's try a coloring book. And so, we both work for Fruit Bearer Publishing when they need us too, as well as doing our freelance stuff. So I went to Candy Abbott, Fruit Bearer Publishing, and said, have you ever done coloring book? And she said, no, but I want to learn. And so she and I and Kim, we did research, we checked things out, we learned how to, she learned how to just put it together. I went to her house for the weekend, and we came up with, this is the front cover of Willoughby and Friends coloring activity book. Kim was able to use a lot of illustrations from the books themselves. And then I came up with activity pages, and then she came and she did new art for that. And so there's the front cover, nice, bright, fun. My favorite is the back cover. I said, this is what I want on the back cover. I want kids to be able to cut out their own stand-up Willoughby.
Oh, cool.
Isn't that fun?
Yeah.
And so, and it's got a nice thick cover so that kids, parents can help kids cut it out, and they stand it up on the little stand, and they can have Willoughby, on their dresser or wherever they want him. And we had a lot of fun doing that. A lot less stress, was less work for Kim, less work for me. Even though I put captions on all the pages and things, and it was more work for Candy because she was learning she does all the book layout, design, and everything. But coloring book was different. And then we had to find printers. We found a United States printer, and it was you have to buy so many, of them, which was fine because I was able to get a really good price on the coloring books. And to be able to, and then we had to research costs. Just like if you go into indie publishing, you want to research your costs. And we did that with Willoughby. We looked at prices from self-publishing, big publishing houses like Scholastic, Simon and Schuster, and different ones. And we picked a price in between. Well, we did the same thing with a coloring book. You had the dollar store coloring books, and then looking on Amazon at other coloring books, indie published and from publishing houses, and we picked a price in between. And it's for $5.95. We had to learn about the quality of the paper and stuff. But that was something new. I mean, Kim, you had done a little bit of coloring page stuff, but nobody had ever done a whole coloring book before. So we had, a lot of fun doing that. Can you elaborate on illustration directories? Never heard of these.
Oh, okay. There's directory of illustration. There's children's book illustration. There's children'sillustrators.com. You can Google, illustration directories, and they'll come up. So yeah, and then you can go in there for free, look around, see what you like. There's all different types of styles, and you can actually, some of them will let you query them. So you can email directly, and they have their links, they have their website, so you can look further into the kind of work that you like if you see something. And I encourage people to build a list of of people in these directories that you would like to contact, or that style. Take a screenshot of it, and write a note, and contact them.
And it doesn't have to be for children's books. Kim has
No.
done book covers too.
Mhm.
A lot of illustrators do just book covers.
Right.
So
Well, talk about that a little bit, Kim. Like what kind of books do you do book covers for?
I do picture books, chapter books, and fantasy. So
Okay.
I do some fantasy work, which I really enjoy. But primarily I do picture book covers and chapter books. So that's kind of my wheelhouse where I hang in.
Mhm.
Kim has also done a little bit of fantasy. I forgot about this, Kimmy. When I was looking to self-publish Fairy Eater before it got picked up by Love to Read, Love to Write Publishing. And okay, I'm looking right at it. And Kim said, can I have a crack at the cover? And I said, sure. So she did, let me open these up so I can share with you. She did 3. And we landed on, okay. Because Kim starts with, she'll do some sketches, just in pencil, right, to get approval
Right.
from anybody, and then moves on to what's next.
Well, I would do the thumbnails, little tiny sketches for, composition, then go to a sketch, pencil sketch. And then when whatever gets accepted with that, I go into a full, a colored sketch and then full color.
So Kim sent me one of these. Okay, it's little, but you can see the hand, because in my novel, the witch captures and kills and eats fairies because she's wicked. So
That's
she's
pretty creepy.
creepy, pulling off the wings like that. And we were like, that's not quite it. We both knew it, but she wanted to try that. And then there was this. Oh, that's the same one. They're small, so it's hard to see. Where's the other? Oh, this one. And where she's actually holding the fairy up like that. And then she said, give me one. I've got another idea. And she sent me this, and this is line art. And I went, oh! Because the witch takes the fairies and she takes their wings off, and then she hangs them like herbs, because
Gosh.
she remembers that's what I do. I harvest my herbs, I hang them in my kitchen, and and I gasped, and I shared it with my writers group, and everybody went, oh! Right?
Yeah.
And this is, look at this. And this is a picture book illustrator, right? It's amazing.
Which was mine.
We had just one brownie too many, right?
Yes.
And then she came up and with the color. And I was super blessed to be able to have Michelle Harper did the usage rights or something, paid Kim for, and used that for the cover. They added their own. They like to have people on the cover. So they had a graphic of their interpretation of the witch, which my husband said, she looks like she's going to prom. I'm like, yeah, well, because that's what it's for teenagers, what she does. But so Kim is not limited to just children's, that it was a stretch and a cool thing for her to do. This is a good lesson for all of us, whether we're writing or we're doing illustration or anything that's creative, just to stretch and do something you don't normally do, because you don't know what you can do with it. Because I went from picture book writer, had the idea for the novel like that, but now I'm getting short stories picked up. I'm not even self-publishing them, and I'm thinking, I don't like I don't like short stories. I don't write them. I don't write in first person. I don't write battle scenes. Hate, loathe, despise battle scenes. And my first short story had all them things, and it won Reader's Choice Award. And I'm like, what the heck? And everybody went, you should be writing them instead of picture books. I'm like, yeah, no. So, but I'm still having fun. So because I was stretching, and after Kim did that, then she could stretch herself out and say, I could do fantasy covers as well. Kim is beautiful. Go to her website. She's got beautiful fantasy art, as well as just, regular picture books like contemporary and animals. And Kim loves to do ethnic. And if you're in other countries and things, she loves to do that too. And so, yeah. The picture will be in your nightmares tonight. That's right. I mean,
Yeah, that is
super creepy. Yeah, Kirk DuPont's. Is anybody familiar with Kirk DuPont's? He's a book cover designer, wins like crazy awards, and he's amazing. And he looked at it, he went, yeah, it's creepy. I said, thank you. Yep. So
just getting back kind of to the nuts and bolts of this, Kim. So when an author like approaches you for the first time, like, do you read an entire story or an entire novel, or because that would take time? And then, so what's sort of your process for getting started?
Right. I do ask them, if it's a chapter book, I ask for at least a chapter, like a key chapter, so I can really get a good sense of the characters. Picture book I would always read, and some some chapter books that are not too dense, I will read the whole thing. Covers, usually it's a concept idea, so I'm talking to the author about the concept, because I probably won't have time to read the whole story, but the key points and like key characters, and what is the most significant thing, and what do we put on the cover that's not going to give the whole story away, that's going to entice or bring interest or create curiosity. That's what I'm looking for. So that's what I would ask. And that's why I love the Zoom, video chat format, because you can ask those questions and you can see in their eyes what's important, to an author. Yeah. And
then you come up with 2 or 3 sketches for them to choose from.
Sure. And then I would give them 2 or 3 sketches, totally different versions. And I also do the typography on it. So I create not only the art, but I do the design cover. So I would, marry some type with it and give them some different feels of, the styles for it. And then they would be able to choose what they like, and we move from there.
Can you talk a little bit about the cost and how that works? So like if you join with an illustrator and want to go a traditional route and submit together, does the author need to pay the illustrator still before that, after that, or are you trying to do it together to have a traditional publisher pay the both of you? I mean, how does that work with payment and all of that with a team, if you go together, or if you aren't going with an illustrator, you go separately? Can you speak to that a little bit?
But when we first met and we worked together on Beatrice, we were both beginning in that, so there weren't any cost. She just said, this is how it's done, and she did the thumbnails. We figured out together what was going to go on each page with the text, broke the text down and all, and made the dummy book and took it with us. It's different because most people don't do that, and we didn't know you didn't do that. We just said, we're going to do this. And
Well, because
you know.
publishers want to choose their own illustrator.
Yeah.
So it was very unusual. It was a God thing that it happened the way it did, because that's not what usually happens. Usually they say, we love your story. We will hire an illustrator for you and interpret the story. And then, you know, then when we're ready, we'll send you the books, right?
Mhm.
So, and it wasn't like that. And the important part about that, I think, is that you have to have equally strong writing and illustrating.
Right.
If you had a very strong writing and a very weak illustrator, or a new illustrator that doesn't have experience, that would probably not work. And the same thing with a poorly written story with a great illustrations, that won't work. So you really have to have, both chops on both. So
Yeah.
I think that would make the difference. But normally with self-publishing, of course, you're going to hire an illustrator and you're going to work out a contract with them that's going to be good for both of you. And also consider this too, that, like I said, it's really not anymore. It's not a gun for hire type situation where, I'm going to hire an illustrator. They're going to do 12 illustrations and that's it. It's not really like that. To make a really great book, Pam and I found this, and I've working with a lot of self-published authors. I found that collaboration and working together to make the book the best it can be together is the way to go, instead of like, I'm going to hire you to do this, and then we don't need to talk about it any further. But actually have a dialogue, work out ideas, challenge things. Like there's times where in writing, you may say, look, can we take out some of this, the descriptives, and let me illustrate them for you, and that way you're editing, you're getting a shorter story, which is good usually, right? And then you're also getting more rich illustrations, because they're putting, all the pink slippers and the this and that doesn't need to be described can be shown. So, there's a lot of,
and Kim
like
usually
that.
breaks it down into three parts, right? So
Thirds.
people can pay in thirds.
Right. At contract signing, usually 1/3 down. At pencil stage, once they receive the pencils and we go through the revisions, they make the second payment, and then the final payments upon receipt of finished artwork. So, and then usually illustrators put 2 rounds of illustrations or 3 rounds of illustration revisions in there at pencil stage. And I think it's really good that way, because there's building of trust. It's a scary thing, and it's a big investment. It's probably the biggest investment you're going to make in picture books.
Give them an average.
Yeah, I mean, it can run now from $5,000 to $10,000 to have a book illustrated, depending on the complexity. How is it a 32? Is it a 24? How many spreads you have in it.
Do you have somebody like her who's experienced and winning awards and been doing it for years, or do you have somebody who's brand new? If you got, and being that they're brand new doesn't mean that they're not good, they just don't have the experience yet. So they would be willing to get experience, and by working for lower costs.
Now, I would say pair an experienced writer with an inexperienced illustrator, but don't, if you're this is a first time book, get an illustrator that's done this before, just to take the stress off, just to learn, because if you do one, you might want to do another. Right. So if you get that experience and you get a little bit of skill under your belt about how this goes, then you could possibly reach out to someone that you would love to work with that's maybe not done a book before.
And
but it's a good thing
They should understand book
Well,
design.
there's a word of caution with this too. If you hire an illustrator, be careful about some that are out there. I've seen this in a children's illustrator group on Facebook, where there are people advertising their illustrations, and all they're doing is they're taking clip art from the web and piecing it together to make an illustration. And that does happen. And then you run into copyright issues. That's right. And you have to be really careful as well. So
that's true. I really do
vet
say
your illustrators.
I would say to be careful in the groups. There's a lot of fibers on there, and people from other countries that are trying to of course, trying to get experience and make money. But the directories are safer, I think, going in to the directories instead of the, and listen, there's some wonderful talent on the groups in Facebook, and there's some really good talent, but you really have to be careful, like you said, Randy. It's a hit or miss, and there's a lot of nightmare stories out there about people who have worked with people from other countries. And there was a problem with communication. There was a problem with the times they were getting in, connecting. There was just a lot of problems. So it's best to really try to go through the directories, try to go through other people that you see a book that you love, try to find out who illustrated it and contact them. If you're, the style, directly try to contact people and talk with them.
And if you're not going through an indie house like Fruit Bearer or Halo Publishing International, Guardian Angel, like that, you want to do stuff on Facebook or Amazon yourself, right, on KDP, you need to especially have an illustrator who understands book layout and design.
Yeah.
Because you can have a good illustrator, but if they don't understand book design, then that could mess up your format.
Sure. I actually do not do pagination. I focus totally on illustration and the layout design of it and the cover design. But I do hand it off to designers that do a terrific job. And I would encourage anybody who doesn't have the experience with that. If I had to learn all the programs, I wouldn't be able to put the emphasis into the art. And that's how I feel about it. Some of them are wonderful. Some illustrators can do it and they're just great. They just stick it in there and it's fine. I don't do that. So I get nervous about it. I would rather trust my friends that I know that I defer to that do a terrific job. So it's worth getting a designer to drop it in for you.
Brandy brought up something that made me, she mentioned the word copyright. So who owns the copyright to your illustrations? Do you both, since the book is together, do you both sort of, how does that work? Does copyright even work for illustrations? I suppose it does.
Yeah, I think it belongs to the illustrator.
Okay.
The copyrights belong to the illustrator.
And the words belong to me.
And the words belong to the author. And, usage rights is a really good thing to start looking into because illustration, is expensive. And if you had complete rights to everything, it would even be more expensive. So usage rights is really a great way to keep the price reasonable, and a lot of times authors think that they're buying the complete rights to illustration when they hire an artist. And unless you're work for hire, that's not true. It's usage. You are buying the rights to these images were generated for you to be used in your product, which is your books, your printed books, your ebooks. And usually what I do with my clients is that I make it in perpetuity for all publishing so that they would have the right to print as many times as they want ebooks and picture books and they have the right to use that art on their website for promotional things and things like that. So I write that in my contract so that they have the right to do that. If it was products like toys or things like that, then they would come back to the table with me and we would work a contract out for something specific like that. But for all publishing and related things to publishing, like I said, with website, and if you're going to go to a talk and you want to blow up the character and make him 4 foot tall on a stand up or something when you're doing a visit, all that is included in the contract.
Okay. Interesting.
And there's different types of illustrations. Like Kim hand renders stuff and tweaks the color on the computer, but there's some people that do just computer digital that it's still their own art and they do it. That can be a little cheaper because with Kim drawing everything up, I have watched her work and you guys can't even begin to imagine how cool it is to watch her work. And when I have a new idea and we'll sit down, I'm talking, well, I'm thinking this, I'm good at that. And she's sketching. And next, there's a picture. I'm like, yeah, that's it. So, but there's a lot of work that goes into hand rendering things. There's a lot of work doing computer graphics too, but it's a whole different animal there. So depending on your story will determine what kind of illustrations you might want.
And it's not, no lie, it's not uncommon for me to have a stack this deep of sketches before I actually start the artwork.
Oh, wow.
Of referencing and researching characters, depending on how many characters and what are the settings, what is the scenery, and then rendering characters in motion, expression, all these things are things that we're building in. So like when we think about illustration, hiring an illustrator, what do they do? And we think, well, they just draw pictures, but they're actually doing reference work. I do photography. I take pictures of settings and places, and I look at textures, and I go to places and find fabric that I like that inspires me. And there's all these other things that get built into the value of, and plus the experience. So if you're saying why is illustration so pricey? It seems so very pricey. All this stuff is built into that. All the experience of 20 years of doing this work is built into, so that the last 10 books I did have made me better for you, so that I can illustrate for you, and it'll even be better. So it's a lot of things, but it's a wonderful, rich thing to build into every book I do. And I was telling Pam just recently, I said, it's so weird, but books actually tell me how they're going to be illustrated. I don't tell them. I don't have a technique. Like, she's like,
we get it, right?
Yeah.
Don't we?
Yeah,
Our characters
definitely.
tell us
Yeah.
to,
yeah. And books
Yeah.
do that too. And they're like, no, I think that I'm going to start this method of how to do them. And the next book is like, that's
No.
not how it's going to happen. And the magic still happens because I trust that God provides. He does. He
It
provides
does. Yeah.
the
Wow.
ability to do it, and which is exciting. And I get afraid, and I'm like, am I going to be able to do it this time? And
Just like all of us starting a new
Yeah,
book. Do I
yeah,
have another
yeah.
book in me? You know,
Yeah.
and most authors don't. I'm so blessed to have this, because most authors have no idea what goes in, what a lot of the things she does. Like, we do our research too, right? We
Mhm.
spend it sometimes, and even myself for picture books, there's research that goes into it, and it takes a while. Those short stories I write, research. I mean, I've got one with Rapunzel. Do you know how many hours of research I did on that, about ancient hairstyles and real life princesses and all the things I stuck in this story? Kim does the same thing, you know, but then I go type, and she's drawing.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just a whole experience. It's the same experience, but a different experience. And so many people don't realize she puts way more work into illustrating than just drawing.
Yeah.
I mean, we
The
love
end result is
storytelling. You
beautiful.
know, I
Yeah.
think that's the thing. You know, Pam loves storytelling. You all love storytelling. I love storytelling. And so we come to it with the strengths that God's given us to do, you know, to use. And when you love storytelling, you want to get it best you can, you know, and it's never going to be perfect. Every book I've done, there's always something in it that's not,
Yep. Same
not
with
what I
writing.
wish. I go
Yep.
back, and sometimes I go back and I go, wow, that was better than I thought.
Same with writing, right?
You know,
When I was at
yeah.
Highlights a few years back for an unworkshop, it was an author in residence. Jerry and Eileen Spinelli were there. And Jerry said, at some point you have to stop editing. And Kim said, at some point you have to stop drawing, because you can do it forever. He said, because every day when you get up in the morning, you're a new person because of what happened yesterday. And so all of us, whether it's we're typing words, we're drawing pictures, that at some point you have to say, this is as good as it gets right now. I have to move on.
Right. Well, you never get them done. I
Right.
mean,
Yeah.
there's,
Yeah.
you know, it's not perfect enough. It's not perfect enough. I can't do that. I'd never, ever get anything done if I
Yeah.
was, so I have to say, I'm going to make it the best that I can where I'm at right
Mhm.
here. And be okay with that, you
Yep.
know,
And after all this time, and when we were trying so hard after Concordia stopped, you had to be Missouri Lutheran to write for them. And so we couldn't send any stuff to them and so we were trying other things, you know, to sell other stories. And because we have lots of stories that I've written that she has sketches for. And we said, you know what? If we never publish together again, ever, God gave us something better. He gave us our friendship. And we're like, never in our wildest dreams, either one of us, when we sat down that first afternoon in May 1995, did we ever think that God would have bonded us, and that all the stuff that we've been through, good and bad, and that we've survived all of it because of his mercy, you know, and his great kindness in bringing us together as best friends. Also, we get to publish and illustrate together. It's very cool. But see, but God does that. Like I tell people, that I haven't been taken part in Writers Chat hard, you know, for not long at all. Brandy told me about it. If she hadn't told me about it, I went, and I feel like I'm connected with everybody that does this regularly and the different people I've met at conferences and things, and how kind God is to all of us, that it's not just that he's given us our gift of writing, of illustrating, or whatever he calls us to do, but he brings friends to us.
Yes.
I can't even imagine trying to do this without friends. I can't. It just wouldn't, I would have given up a
And
long
we
time
need each
ago.
other. We really do.
Yeah,
We need to be able,
we
and that's the
do.
wonderful part about like where we are in history, like now with self-publishing, is that we can be together.
Mm-hmm.
We can work together. We
Yeah.
can make wonderful
I love
collaborations.
And it's so true. I was going to say something about that earlier, and you said it much more eloquently than I could because you're talking so personally. But, I love like just sitting here and seeing how all different people are connected with one another and how they can, because, we really don't advertise Writers Chat, really. I mean, but we've had people just come and go, and they bring someone else and they bring someone else. And then you hear these stories like yours about people just meeting and then these friendships. And it's just, it's just so terrific how God brings people together and brought you all to us every Tuesday morning. And we just appreciate it, so much. So I'm going to ask everybody to come on, and we've got a couple more minutes if there's something you want to ask. This has been fascinating. I love seeing this whole other, I'm not an artist myself, but art pops up in a lot of my stories in one way or another. And so it's so interesting to me to hear Kim from you, especially. We haven't had illustrators on here very often. We do have some talented people here who have talked about, like Patricia is so talented and in different ones, but just to get that kind of a different perspective on the art. And while you're coming on, we are about 99% sure that next Tuesday, we kind of have to give one little final confirmation, but that we're going to have my daughter, Jill Landcore, on here. And she's going to be talking about the very basics of Instagram. So Jill has been pretty successful. She flips around a bit and will do one thing and then something else and something else and something else. But for whatever she decides to do, she gains a following. And then, she'll change and start doing something else. And some people drop off and other people come on. But her reach is very organic. She doesn't, do much of the tricks. She just grows. But we're not going to expect you to do that, but we just thought just to start at the very basic. How do you set it up? What do you put in your bio? How do you create content? How do you interact with others? Just very, very basic Instagram.
Well, Willoughby is very excited about that because he has an Instagram account.
Oh, yay. Well,
He'll be here next week.
Good. Anyone
Ben has his hand up.
Pardon?
Yeah, Ben has his hand up.
Oh, see ya. There you go, Ben.
I just want to say thanks, Pam, for sharing your Illustrator along with you. I have that same blessing to know personally my Illustrator, and we've worked on things outside of writing, but I'm also glad that she's won some awards as well. Too many times when the publisher picked, and my publisher, Shine a Light Press, allows me to work with my Illustrator because they love the graphics that are produced. But one thing that I do, because my children's books are meaningless without the illustrations. And sometimes I think the industry sets up that the illustrator is just somebody that gets paid off and they're not heard of again. And they're like, the redheaded stepchild that you don't talk about. They get their name on there. But what I do, and my publisher allows me to get books at a discount. And I share that with my illustrator because they're just as much there. So they get the same discount through me. If it costs me $5 for a book, I'm going to let my illustrator buy as many books at $5, and she can then share that with her world. And the industry really doesn't do that. So find that you can stick with, that and I could drive 10 miles and say, or she can come and show me her work, rather than, like you said, somebody from another country that you don't have that connection with. I'm blessed to know mine, and it shows that you two are good friends.
Yeah, we do that. And also what we do in the back of, we have our pictures and bios with our contact info on there too. And that way that they don't just read about me, but her, because it's just as important. And then this is just the reading about bioluminescent,
That's
things.
so cool.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun. And you got to put in stuff like that kids like. And one of the things I found out with the jack-o'-lantern mushroom has something most creatures and plants do not: glowing poop. Because you're writing for kids, you got to talk about poop at some point.
Some of that in
It says
there,
they push their waste out through their gills, and the waste contains material that glows. Well, when I'm at story time and I'm reading that, the giggles, it's
Of
totally worth it.
course.
But yeah, putting a little something in about your illustrator as well. Why not? I mean, a lot of books have, about the author. And I know novels are different because you have a cover of just the cover and all like that. But when you have children's books that have more illustrations, even if you do chapter books or middle grade that have some black line art, that illustrator, my opinion, should be something about that illustrator somewhere.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Great. Well, this really has been great. Does anyone have any last minute things before we stop the recording? Last minute questions or comments?
Kim and I teach together too, so we're going to be putting together mentoring clinics that we're going to be able to do on Zoom, and I don't have it up on my website yet, but we've done it in person two times and once online, and people seem to really like getting her input just like I did. So we thought, well, okay,
Yeah.
let's give it a shot. So I'll announce that. I'll announce that when it's ready.
Thank you both for being here. And I just want to thank those of you who are watching the replay and invite you to join us anytime on Tuesday mornings, 10 o'clock Central, 11 o'clock Eastern. Check out our Writers Chat Facebook group and our Writers Chat Facebook page, where you can find all of our videos, all of our episodes, and we cover a lot of topics all related to writing, but there are sure a lot of them on there. So we're glad for you to check those out, and we'll see everybody next week. Bye-bye.